All right, time to talk New York Giants football. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, our YouTube handle. Please like our videos and subscribe if you must. When we talk Giants, we go inside the Giants with our Giants Insider from Big Blue View. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet. We'll hear a little bit more from our friends at Box Drop in just a little bit, but let's welcome in our insider for all things New York Giants. It's the one, the only Ed Valentine. What's up, Ed? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Hey, before we get started, Jim, it's Big Blue. It's not Big Red. It's not Big red.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
it's not. Come on, it's Big Blue.
Yes, sorry.
Come on now.
Hey, I didn't create these. The team created these alternate colors.
This is true.
Wearing the laundry, but you're right.
How are you guys today?
It is odd, right? The red with the white. Yes. Very
well, good. Ed, I know it was a long time ago since the last time that we talked in and the Giants win, but obviously it's still worth discussing as the Giants beating the Philadelphia Eagles and not just beating them handily. So I guess to encapsulate it all with us being so removed from it, what does that win mean? Thumping the Philadelphia Eagles at home in primetime, the defending Super Bowl champions. What does it mean?
Well, for me, I think you combine that with what happened a couple of weeks ago with the Chargers. For me, it means that the Chargers game wasn't an accident. It means that maybe, just maybe, this is the first time the Giants have beaten the Eagles in a meaningful game in a really long time. Mm-hmm. To me, it means maybe, just maybe, the Giants are actually beginning to turn a corner toward some form of legitimacy. No, I mean, whatever form that takes, but it means to me that they're turning that corner toward no longer being sort of a laughing stock that people can just sort of count on as a victory every week.
And Ed, leading the way are the two rookies, and this has become a real fascination nationally. Obviously, we all watched the post-game show of the Thursday night football game where crazy Cam Scattaboo, who everyone is just loving these days, a ball of testosterone, you might say, coming out there and ripping his shirt off along with Fitzpatrick, the former quarterback, getting into it as well. Obviously, Jackson Dart is a big part of this too. But let's start with Scattaboo and kind of this genesis that he's had on the Giants faithful and how much suddenly the Giants have become interesting because of these two young players.
I just have to say that was way too much man hair and way too much man chest on national TV for me. Seriously, but look, yeah, way too much. Thanks for that. Make me turn away from that. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry I mentioned it now. But listen, Scattaboo and Jackson Dart are part of really, and I just wrote a sort of 5,000 word opus talking about every player on the Giants roster to this point in the season. And the thing for me about Scattaboo and Dart, and I'm sure we'll get more in depth on Dart in a little bit, but they both have talent. All right. And that much is apparent. But it's not the talent that is the biggest difference-making thing that these guys are bringing to the Giants. It's the swagger. It's the attitude. It's the energy. It's Cam Scattaboo screaming "woo" like Ric Flair every time he walks by Brian Daboll on his way to the practice field. It's the physicality. It's that screw the past. It doesn't matter. All these negative vibes around the team. We weren't part of that. It doesn't matter. We're here to win football games. We're here to have some swagger, and they're bringing. To me, that's what's important. They're bringing a whole new attitude, a whole new energy. Call it culture, call it vibe, call it whatever you want. But that's what they're really bringing, to the football team.
Maybe, Ed, it's kind of, the way I'm reading this a little bit is it kind of like two guys who love the game of football, as you said, are at this point still completely detached from the Giants' struggles of the past and are just saying, hey, guys, just show up to practice every day, show up to the game every week, passionate about what you love to do. We love to play football. We're going to go out on that football field and give it our all. If you do the same, guess what? We may all be celebrating at the end of each one of these things when you do that. You know, it almost seems more like a love for football than it is a love necessarily for winning.
I think it's some of both. And it is this sort of, forget the past, forget the losses, forget the negativity that's out there in the media and the fan base and all of that. Just come to work, prepare, do what you know how to do, and we'll go out and compete like crazy. And that's what they're doing. It's, I said way back in the offseason that I thought this was a better roster than the Giants had in a while. And it didn't show for the first 3 weeks. It's starting to show now. Is it a Super Bowl contending roster? No, not yet. Let's be realistic. Is it a team that's going to win its next 10 games? No, let's be realistic. But I think they're beginning to prove to themselves that they can win every single week if they do things the right way. And if they don't, they do what happens against the Saints.
How are the Giants, because they lose Malik Neighbors, and he's a straw that stirs the drink. What a polarizing, very talented guy for the Giants. And you lose that piece to the puzzle for the rest of the season. How have the Giants managed, in your mind? Obviously, they just pulled off this upset win against the Philadelphia Eagles without him. How are they How are they doing it on offense? How are they getting away with it, I guess? Is it smoke and mirrors, or is there a legitimate player that stepped up to the plate here?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. First and foremost, they lost Malik Neighbors. But in the process of losing Malik Neighbors, what they have also gained is one of the 3 or 4 best left tackles in football, who is still playing. And this is the best we've seen Andrew Thomas play since 2022 when he was an All-Pro. He's healthy right now. He didn't play healthy in 2023 or 2024 when he was on the field. He had a lot of different injuries he was dealing with. He's playing like an All-Pro. And all of a sudden, what I thought would happen if he played that way is happening. The line looks competent. It looks adequate. It looks professional. It looks like it can do. I mean, there's no other great players on that line, but they can do what needs to be done. They're giving the quarterback a chance. They're giving the running back a chance. So it starts there. I mean, it also starts with Dart, with Scattaboo making plays. And look, you don't make up for the loss of Malik Neighbors on the outside. No individual player is going to do that. But look at what little Jordan Humphrey did in the game the other night. You make up for that by everybody doing whatever they can. Okay. Little Jordan Humphrey had a 34-yard catch, I think, on a jump ball. Jackson Dart just threw it up. And when is the last time a Giants wide receiver other than Malik Neighbors went up in traffic and hauled down a jump ball? And then you do little things like when Wan'Dale Robinson catches a pass on the sideline, you're a little Jordan Humphrey, and you get out in front of him and you drive a potential tackler off the field. And the guy scores a touchdown. That's winning football. And that's the kind of stuff, that's extra effort and winning football. And that's how you make up for it. You're not going to make up for it with talent. Nobody's going to make the plays that Neighbors made. But the only thing you can do is make up for it by doing everything you possibly can to contribute.
All right, Ed, I want to talk to you about Jackson Dart's performance. But before we go there, let's go to the more newsworthy item of the moment. And that is Dart getting dinged in the head, going into the blue tent, and Brian Daboll getting into a skirmish, a verbal altercation with the Giants doctor. This has made news. It is probably going to result in the levying of fines. We still haven't heard as of this moment, but could be any moment here this week. But let's talk about it. To me, it just shows in a way, Ed, like how, like, I don't want to use the word desperate, but how tuned into wins and losses and winning Brian Daboll is right now. It's almost like this guy is scratching and clawing for his job right now, and he's not going to let anything get in his way. But this definitely crossed the line. Let's talk about it.
Oh, Daboll most definitely is scratching and clawing, and it's funny because Jackson Dart and Brian Daboll are a lot alike, and they're hyper personalities. They're really competitive, but look, Daboll crossed a serious line here. As it happens, I was at the stadium, on Thursday night. And as it happens, the NFL and the Giants public relations department had arranged a tour for members of the media of the medical facilities. And we got to go into the blue tent. We got to go into the blue tent. We got to go into the spotters booth. We got to talk to Dr. Alan Sills, who's the chief medical guy for the NFL. It was really interesting. And, one of the things that came out of that was nobody comes in this tent except for the people doing the evaluation and the player being evaluated. And here comes Brian Daboll, and here comes Cam Scatterbo. And I think they lost themselves in the moment, but you can't do that. You have to allow, the medical people to do their jobs. It wasn't going to help anything for Brian Daboll to go over there. It wasn't going to hurry the process. It was probably only going to delay it, but it wasn't going to help anything for Scatterbo to go over there. Cross your fingers and hope that the Giants don't lose a draft pick. I don't think they're going to. That seems to be the consensus right now, but a fine they can deal with, but it was definitely a bad look, definitely something that you can't do. I don't know if it was desperation. Daboll said, "Well, I had a decision to make, and I needed to know which quarterback I was gonna have in the game," and he just lost himself in the moment, I think. But you just can't do that. You have somebody on that sideline has got to grab a hold of him. I mean, he's got security personnel next to him as it is. Somebody's got to grab a hold of him and say, "You can't go over there." So, I mean, as disappointed as I am in Daboll, he's got a lot of veteran security people that have been there for a long time. Somebody's got to grab a hold of him and say, "Hey, you can't go there."
So it is very clear from what you're saying, and it's so interesting that you're doing a tour literally, and they're kind of getting you behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That no one goes in the tent, and then literally that night we see a breach of the rules. Okay, that just makes it very clear that Daboll got caught up in the moment. It's not that he didn't know any better or that he didn't know the rule. I mean, this is out there, so that helps clear it up a lot. I hope it's just monetary fine. Wow, I mean, that would be something if it were a draft pick. Holy crow, that would. That's
what Mike Florio reported on Sunday Night Football, that was sort of in conversation to Ed Valentine's point.
One would think first time this happens that you should get there.
Although I'm worried about this. Does the NFL make an example out of the Giants and said, "Hey, folks, you don't go into the medical tent." Right. And then we hang the Giants' head to show everyone in the league, look, if you do this, this is going to happen. That's
the possibility that I worry about. Is there's so much discussion of concussion. And when I had that tour the other day, we were talking, one of the things we were talking about is potential concussions get missed sometimes, even with all of the technology that they have and all of the spotters that they have. And I mean, they have so many people paying attention to these things. It's not just one person, but they don't catch everything. But they're very, very serious about diagnosing these concussions and making sure that guys aren't playing through them. And you do wonder, like you said, if they'll make an example out of the Giants here and do more than just slap them on the wrist.
We're talking with Ed Valentine, Big Blue View, our Giants insider. Today's broadcast is brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet. Let's just take 30 seconds to learn a little bit more about our friends from Box Drop.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
Again, as you heard, 30 to 70% off your mattresses. Paul, I'm looking into one right now, and man, they are comfy. Go in, you try them just like going into a showroom, and you talk to the sleep doctor, Paul. He is fantastic. All right, back to Giants football. We're talking with Ed Valentine, Big Blue View, our Giants insider. Giants readying for a game with the Broncos. We'll get to a preview of that game in just a moment, but we're recapping some of the glorious Giant victory last Thursday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. You think about it, Ed, if they won that game in New Orleans, it'd be 3-3. And wow, I mean, it just kind of be a whole different season for the Giants, but it's not. It's 2-4 and still a good win. And a big reason behind that win is the change in quarterback to Jackson Dart. He clearly has added a spark. He clearly has added competency, and he clearly has added a running element to this Giants quarterback position that is becoming extremely dangerous to opponents. So let's talk about Dart's performances now in his few outings and how he's evolving as a quarterback across a couple of games.
Well, it's not that the statistics are spectacular, but it is the fact that the Giants offense has changed. He can use his legs. He's got a little bit of designed run element that the Giants are able to put into the offense, a lot of escapability. He's willing to take a hit. Obviously, he's willing to try to deliver one too, which is why he seems to land in that blue medical tent almost every week for some way. But obviously Dart's been a big difference. The improvement on the offensive line's been a big difference. They're finding ways to run the football. I have to give Daboll and Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator, some credit for sort of shape-shifting this offense around what Dart and Scatterboo, and the talent that they have without Malik Neighbors can do, sort of doing that on the fly. So, but Dart's the centerpiece of all of it. He's made really good decisions, for a guy that started 3 NFL games. Look, we're not putting him in the Hall of Fame yet. We're not making him an All-Pro yet. We're not saying he's going to be the guy for the next 12 years, but it certainly is a good, promising, exciting start. And it gives Giants fans something to look forward to on Sundays.
It is a stiff challenge coming up with the Denver Broncos, who have a shared, crown there, first place in the AFC West. And their defense is the best pass rushing unit in the NFL. They led the league in sacks going into that Jets game, and the Jets more than helped them juice those numbers with another 9 sacks on top of it to get over 30 sacks so far in the season. That's quite a challenge for Jackson Dart, a young quarterback. What do you make of this matchup here, Ed Valentine, heading up there, especially on the road?
As you guys said, it's a huge challenge for the Giants. I've been talking up the offensive line a little bit. We will see. This offensive line is going to be massively challenged by Denver. And look, if the Giants are going to win this football game, to me, it's going to look a lot like it's going to have to look a lot like the 13-11 game the Broncos just won over the Jets. Because if the Giants are going to have to score 27 points to win this football game, they're not winning the football game against that defense. So it's going to have to be a low-scoring game. They're going to have to avoid mistakes. They're probably going to have to come up with a big play on special teams or on defense or somewhere along there, to win this one. But there's certainly, I'll be shocked if it's a shootout.
Now, Ed, you said you just did a deep dive evaluation of all the Giants players. So let's go there for a second and let's talk specifically about the Giants defense. Everybody entered the season, especially upon, drafting Abdul Carter, that this Giants front seven, that this Giants front in particular can really give some people trouble. Where are you at with this front at this particular point? I'll tell you personally, I'm a little meh about how they've been and the kinds of pressure that they've been able to regularly put on opposing quarterbacks. Is that something that you think is still to come as the season goes on? And how would you evaluate them to this point?
Look, I think they're a work in progress. All right. I think that let's go beyond the three edge guys for a minute. The biggest concern for me is that the best player on that defense, the guy that a lot of people think is the best defensive tackle in football, hasn't been close to that so far this year. And we're talking about Dexter Lawrence. He's been good, but he hasn't been dominant. Doesn't have a sack yet. I think he's got 1 tackle for loss in 6 games. And I don't know what the reason is. Yes, he had the I think it was dislocated elbow, that put him on IR last year. And he now wears a brace on that elbow most of the time. I don't know if it has anything to do with the elbow. I don't know if there was some sort of loss of strength in that arm that, he's double teamed on almost every play. I don't know, if his ability to get off those double teams is compromised by that arm. I do know that Dex barely worked all spring. He was at practice through OTAs, through mandatory minicamp, all of those things, but he didn't see much time on the field. All through training camp, he would take 1 or 2 reps and then come off the field. He barely played in the preseason. So I felt like he's not really ready. Maybe he's not fully in game shape because he just hasn't worked a lot. He hasn't done a lot. And I thought, okay, it's going to take 2 or 3 games for Dex to beat Dex. And we're 6 games in and he still doesn't look like Dexter Lawrence. So now I'm a little bit concerned. That's my biggest concern with that front seven is for them to be really special. As good as that edge trio is, for them to be really special, Dexter has to be special.
All right. One other little thing from the Thursday night game, and then we can do just a little bit more on Denver, and that is when Dart goes into the tent, and after the Dable incident, if we want to call it, Russell Wilson comes into the game for a down, and it was ugly. And then he got booed, and boy, it was definitely kind of a seminal, embarrassing moment for Russell Wilson in a lot of ways. I don't know if I like what the fan base did to him either, particularly because he's been a stand-up guy. Obviously, it's just the longing for Jackson Dart. I don't know that it's personal per se, but it was definitely a moment there. So describe that moment, and what did you think about what went on there?
Well, you could feel the unease when Dart went off the field. You could feel the unease in the stadium, and you could feel the, oh God, here comes Russ, and then he hands the ball off, and then on one play, and then he goes back to pass, and an incompletion is one thing, okay, but he threw the ball into the middle of the field, and there wasn't a receiver within 10 or 12 yards of it, and the fans I didn't like what they did either, but they just let go of their frustration, and really, I think it was, can we please get Dart back in the game?
Yes, no
please.
doubt.
Please, God, let's hope we don't have to watch this for the entire second half. But I do wonder what's going to happen with Russell Wilson here. The Cincinnati Bengals seemed like the logical place for Russell Wilson to land if the Giants were going to find a trade partner. And of course, the Bengals chose Joe Flacco. Okay. So is there going to be a trade partner out there for Russ? Right now, there probably isn't. 2.5 weeks from now, who knows what happens with guys getting hurt and this and that. But I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Russ. I think at some point, Jameis Winston probably has to be QB2 for the Giants. I don't know what you guys think about that, but what I've written is if Russ is on the roster and the Giants have any hope of trading him and getting something for him, they can't bump him down to QB3.
Right.
They have to because then they're saying, he's a complete spare part. We don't want him. We have no use for him. Why would anybody give them anything for him?
Right.
So I don't think they can. I think they just have to ride this out until we get to the deadline and they see if they can find a trade partner.
And Ed, my last one here is Cam Scatterboo obviously has gone off. He's coming off that crazy 3-touchdown game and everything's been good. But Tyrone Tracy also returned to that game. So I thought, for fantasy owners, that might be a little muddy. How is this split going to work? Is this now clearly Cam Scatterboo's job and Tyrone Tracy's just holding his jockstrap over there?
I don't think so. I think right now Scatterboo is running back one. That's clear. He provides so much energy, so much toughness, and in between the tackles, ability to push the pile and get all those tough yards. But Tyrone Tracy remains more of a home run hitter than Scatterboo, and I think we will see, over the course of the season, we will see times when Tyrone Tracy shines. We will see times when the big plays come from Tracy. I think Scatterboo is running back one. But I think there's space for both guys. That could have also been, part of the fact that Tracy had missed 2 games and they didn't want to go give him the ball 15 times in his first game back. But we'll see how it unfolds. But I do feel like in any NFL backfield these days, there's room for more than one guy to get a decent number of touches.
2 intangibles, Ed, I want to mention in this matchup against the Denver Broncos. One is exactly what you were saying earlier. Look at how the Jets hung with them. I mean, the Jets have not been all that competent this year, particularly defensively, and that defense definitely held up. That certainly gives Giants fans some hope. And the fact that, let's face it, that game was played in London, so you've got that whole overseas wacky thing where you're traveling all the way back and trying to get back on your biological clock, so to speak, with the time changes. Give me your thoughts about whether there's an advantage there that the Giants could take here in terms of Denver's performance and the fact that they have to do this massive travel.
Oh, there could be. I do think NFL teams have gotten better and better at, studying the travel and preparing for it and making sure that their guys get the proper amounts of sleep and all of that. But you're still going a long, long way, to come back home to play a football game. So, I mean, that could help the Giants a little bit. The Jets win that game if they have competent quarterback. Really, the Jets win that game if they have a competent quarterback, and that's just, take that any way you want if you're a Justin Fields fan. But Justin Fields is not a real good NFL quarterback. But the reality of it is the Broncos, they're 4-2, but they haven't been world beaters this year. They beat the Eagles, which maybe after the Giants beat the Eagles doesn't look like as much of an accomplishment the way the Eagles are playing as we thought it was. But they're not lighting the world on fire on offense. Bo Nix to this point hasn't played the way that he did a year ago. We saw on the Monday Night Football game, we saw the Buffalo Bills lose. So everybody's beatable. If you do the right things, if you make plays that present themselves, if you're where you're supposed to be when you have an assignment, you can win a football game. And if you make the plays you're supposed to make.
Ed, last one for me, and that is we're already seeing action in terms of the firing situation in the NFL. A coach, Brian Callahan, let go by the Tennessee Titans, and immediately rumors floating out there that Mike Kafka could be a candidate for this job. If indeed that's true, how big a blow would this be to the Giants if Kafka were to find his way to that head coaching job?
Geez, Big Blue View didn't contribute to that rumor at all. we didn't contribute. There isn't a headline at Big Blue View that says, "Could Mike Kafka be the Titans' next head coach?" No, we didn't. We didn't contribute to that at all. I don't know what Tennessee will do, but look, Kafka interviewed for the job that Callahan got. Kafka has interviewed for a lot of jobs the last few years. Our writer that wrote that piece made a really good point. If the Giants continue to play well with Jackson Dart, if Jackson Dart continues to develop, if he continues to look like the answer, Mike Kafka is the guy in his ear calling the plays. Mike Kafka is going to get a boost from that when it comes time for the coaching carousel, and Tennessee's got Cam Ward. So most of these teams with young quarterbacks, they want the offensive-minded head coach. So it makes sense, for Kafka to get interest there. We'll see. I mean, he seems to perennially be the bridesmaid, but it does make some sense. So we'll see what happens there. I just wonder with these teams, to be honest with you guys, I don't know if teams understand what they're looking for in a head coach, because this is just me. But why does it matter if your head coach is an offensive-minded guy or is a defensive-minded guy? What matters to me is, can he lead men? Can he motivate men? Can he be the face of a franchise? Is he a guy that good assistant coaches want to come and work for?
Yeah.
That's what matters to me. And I think owners get too tied up in, oh, he's the latest and greatest offensive mind, we have to have him. Or he's the latest and greatest defensive mind and our defense stunk, so we have to have him. And that to me is not the right criteria.
Well, dare I say, Ed, I offer you the New York Football Giants, who their current head coach was the flavor of the month because of what Josh Allen accomplished. And he was, as you were just saying, Kafka is to Dart, the same thing to Josh Allen. And the Giants hired him expecting those kind of results. And so far, it's been mediocrity at best, maybe even less than mediocrity. Will he hold on to his job at the end of the year? I'm sure that discussion will continue as we continue to talk week in and week out. Ed Valentine, always great to talk to you. Always better coming off a win and when there are smiles on these Giant fans' faces. So fantastic stuff there. We hope we can get another one up there in Denver this weekend, and we'll talk all about it with you again next week. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there he is, Ed Valentine, Big Blue View.